Hey guys, let's get more news about Miami Heat, but first, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and leave a like. Proposed trade lands Giannis Antetokounmpo with the Miami Heat. Big changes are expected from the Miami Heat this summer. Erik Spoelstra's team fell to a 4-0 first-round playoff defeat at the hands of the Cleveland Cavaliers. Jimmy Butler's exit at the February 6 trade deadline ensured Miami would be facing some tough decisions during the offseason. Pat Riley can either try to retool the roster on the fly, or he can accept it's time for a full-scale rebuild. If Riley decides to retool, he could turn his attention toward Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Milwaukee Bucks are in a similar spot to the Heat and may need to make some sweeping changes. Fox Sports recently shared a trade proposal for what a Giannis trade could look like for Miami. Bucks get Bam Adebayo, Jamie Jaquez Jr., Kyle Anderson, 3 first-round picks, 2026, 2028, 2030. Heat get Giannis Antetokounmpo. The Heat have lost in the first round the last 2 seasons. Antetokounmpo, alone, could get them back to where team president, Pat Riley, wants them to be, contending for championships, Fox Sports reasoned. What they have that the Bucks don't is draft capital. Milwaukee, though, doesn't just want a haul of picks from a team that's getting its superstar, because any team which acquires Antetokounmpo won't pick high. So the Heat would have to send them a trio of picks and Adebayo, who helps Milwaukee continue to compete. Giannis would thrive under Spoelstra's leadership. His athleticism and elite-level defense would perfectly fit how the Heat likes to play. Giannis' presence could also help Miami become a favorable destination for free agents, too. During his post-game news conference on Monday, April 28, Bam Adebayo shared his belief that Miami's roster will look considerably different by the time the 2025-26 season begins. "There's going to be a lot of changes this summer," Adebayo said. "Just from my point of view, understanding how the guy with the silver hair works. Just be prepared for that. There's no doubt that changes are coming for the Heat. However, the volume of those changes will largely depend on the approach Riley decides to take." Rather than trading for a star talent such as Giannis, ESPN's Bobby Marks believes the Heat should begin the process of entering a rebuild. Marks believes Miami's best path back to the top of the NBA is by tearing things down and starting from scratch. "It's very hard threading the needle," Marks said. "They've been a play-in team the last couple of years. Would they ever consider taking a step back, potentially taking the Oklahoma City approach? Maybe you get a core player back and draft picks, and going in that direction, they are going to be where they are a year from now, if there are no changes here. It may have to be taking a step back instead of going star-chasing. While adding a superstar would appease fans, it's unlikely that Miami has enough trade assets to build out a competitive roster. As such, a rebuild might be the best path forward. Unfortunately for Miami, that could be a hard sell for Riley, which is why the summer is going to be so interesting. Analyst suggests Heat shift to full rebuild, taking the Oklahoma City approach. The Miami Heat are at a crossroads. Erik Spoelstra's team is miles away from being at the level of a contender. However, the Heat have limited trade assets and their roster is incredibly disjointed. Miami could look to trade for a star during the offseason. Yet, even the addition of another top-level talent may not be enough to reposition the Heat among the league's elite. According to ESPN's Bobby Marks, who was speaking on an April 30 episode of ESPN's NBA Today, now might be the time for the Heat to enter a full-scale rebuild. "It's very hard threading the needle," Marks said. "They've been a play-in team the last couple of years. Would they ever consider taking a step back, potentially taking the Oklahoma City approach? Maybe you get a core player back and draft picks, and going in that direction, they are going to be where they are a year from now, if there are no changes here. It may have to be taking a step back instead of going star-chasing." Miami is renowned for retooling its roster, rather than rebuilding. However, after multiple seasons of talent drain and some mismanagement of assets, the Heat may be better served by building from the ground up. The hardest part of rebuilding is accepting the unavoidable years of being among the worst teams in the league. The Heat have been highly competitive throughout Spoelstra's tenure. Nevertheless, the fan base could likely be sold on a change in direction. If the plan is to build a new dynasty, centered on young and exciting talent, there's reason for everyone to be excited. You only have to look toward the Oklahoma City Thunder as a shining example of what patience and humility can provide. Closer to home, the Indiana Pacers made the Eastern Conference Finals last season following a rebuild. And the Cleveland Cavaliers are now one of the best teams in the East. It's clear there's a blueprint on how to get back to the top. During his post-game news conference on Monday, April 28, Bam Adebayo admitted the Heat's roster is going to look different next season. There's going to be a lot of changes this summer, Adebayo said. Just from my point of view, understanding how the guy with the silver hair works. Just be prepared for that. Pat Riley may not be on board with a full-scale rebuild. However, it's likely Miami's best chance at navigating its current difficult period. As such, Adebayo's prediction could be right on the money. Because if the Heat do start to tear things down, nobody on the current roster is safe. The first part of a rebuild is amassing assets. Taking on bad salaries for draft picks and giving players a second chance at making it in the league are two surefire ways to begin setting the foundations for the future. Therefore, it's fair to expect Miami's roster to look significantly different later this year. If Riley opts to stay on the current course, the Heat will continue to struggle for relevancy. And in truth, that's the option that is most likely to frustrate the fan base. Miami Heat viewed as realistic trade destination for two-time NBA champion. After a humbling first-round exit, the Miami Heat are expected to make multiple moves during the summer. Erik Spoelstra's team needs a new star to lead the franchise. The Heat will be linked with every star that could potentially hit the trade market this summer. Kevin Durant and Giannis Antetokounmpo have both been discussed as being potential targets by the Heat's fan base and wider NBA media. During a recent episode of The Zach Lowe Show, the longtime NBA analyst noted that Durant is the more logical target for the Heat. Especially as the Milwaukee Bucks have shown no indication that Giannis will be moving this summer. This is a team that does not react well from being this far from the bar, and so I'm expecting a big offseason for them, Lowe said. I don't know what form that's going to take. I think they'll try to butt into any superstar trade conversations that come up. They've got stuff, just not that much stuff. They can trade 2 first-round picks right now, and, on draft night they can trade a third. If the Giannis thing actually comes to bear, I just don't see how they have any shot in hell at getting into that. Durant is much more realistic to me. Durant is expected to be on the move this summer. The Phoenix Suns need to begin retooling their roster, and Durant is the most logical trade chip. While chasing another star is the path Miami will likely choose, opting to enter a full-scale rebuild could be the wiser choice. ESPN's Bobby Marks recently discussed why he believes now is the right time for the Heat to tear things down and start from scratch. It's very hard threading the needle, Marks said on an April 30 episode of ESPN's NBA Today. They've been a play-in team the last couple of years. Would they ever consider taking a step back, potentially taking the Oklahoma City approach? Maybe you get a core player back and draft picks, and going in that direction, they are going to be where they are a year from now, if there are no changes here. It may have to be taking a step back instead of going star chasing. Choosing to rebuild is never easy. It means accepting multiple years of losing seasons. However, that decision could reposition the Heat to emerge as genuine contenders in the future. Right now, the franchise is treading water. Adding a star such as Durant isn't a guarantee of success. During his post-game news conference on Monday, April 28, Bam Adebayo revealed his expectations for Miami's offseason. There's going to be a lot of changes this summer, Adebayo said. Just from my point of view, understanding how the guy with the silver hair works. Just be prepared for that. If the Heat does go down the rebuilding route, Adebayo's exit could be one of those changes. However, given Riley's history, it's more likely that Miami looks to retool on the fly. Whether that means Durant will be moving to South Beach remains to be seen. The only thing for certain is that the Heat have a big offseason ahead of them. And you, fan? What do you think about Kevin Durant's situation? Write to us in the comments.